I think it's probably 4:01. We can get started. Just want to say hello to everyone, and it's good to see so many of you here today. Always great to work with the staff and with the community. I want to recognize that in my meeting today, I'm sitting here in Whistler on the shared unceded territory of the Squamish-Lillooet and the Lillooet, the Squamish Nation and the Lillooet Nation, two nations of the many nations that the SLRD works with and alongside. And I'm very appreciative to be here working in their territory on their land, and appreciative of the relationships that we've been able to make over the last 9 months that I've worked here. I also acknowledge that many of you are on the territories of other nations whose land are unceded, and I want to respect that as well. Very happy to see everyone. The first thing that I'm going to do to kick this off is stop talking and hand it over to Area A Director who sits on our board, Sal Demare. Sal, I think you're unmuted and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Heather. Good recovery has been difficult for the fire loss group, especially, but it's also been difficult for the staff, SLRD staff, and somewhat the SLRD board directors and the contractors, the many contractors that are working out there. There have been many lessons learned by everyone I've mentioned, but also the provincial government making the change they did to the riparian regulations. At UBCM, the SLRD had a resolution regarding the riparian zone amendment for the cleanup, and it was originally approved at the board, then it was approved at SILGA, Southern Interior Local Government Association, and then once again unanimously at the Union of BC Municipalities, UBCM. So now, and the gist of it was that this to be made for all future wildfires, so that the situation arises again, we don't have to go through all the issues that we went through and the delays that it took to finally get it. So I'm very appreciative of that. So I'll keep it short because I want to see lots of questions being answered. Thank you.
Thank you, Sal. Thanks very much. I think if whoever's in control of the slides, they can go to the next slide. And just a few opening remarks, then I'm going to pass it on to a couple of other people on the team, including Mark Phillips, Director of Protective Services, who will go through the technical, and then Jaya. Thank you so much, Jaya, for being here, who will be delivering a bit of a recovery snapshot. So a couple things, just some key things I want to share with everyone, which is the fact that I just want to recognize that it's been over a year that the recovery for this wildfire has been navigated by so many people on this call and all levels of government and community groups that have formed as a result of this and pre-existed and continue to support it. And that includes the BREVCA, the Bridge River Valley Community Association, and the Fire Loss Working Group. I also want to just say that myself and the board and the recovery team just, again, will never start a meeting like this without recognizing the challenges that were faced and the progress that has been made as a result of vocal advocacy from the community, from us to the province, from the community to the province, from the community to us, from the various directors and boards. And I want to thank everyone for speaking openly and frankly and coming together in a really communicative way as much as possible to solve problems and make it easier for people who suffer this in the future. And let's also hope and prevent that from ever happening again as well. We've had many milestones and breakthroughs. Some of that's going to be reviewed today. We also want to say that there's also been some recovery challenges where we've been unable to find a pathway of support, and we recognize that. And I'll talk a little bit at the end about some meetings we had with UBCM, really talking about how we've hit roadblocks, and we'd like the province to make some changes to support that. I want to also take a moment for everyone with gratitude to share that our recovery unit coordinator, Jaya Bremer, is finishing her contract this month. The province kindly extended her contract again so that we could have her through to October. And in the time that I got to know her and got to know the work and witness the work being done, I just want to just publicly say how appreciative I am and the organization is. The SLRD now is going to transition away from a recovery unit coordinator, but we're not using things like this is the end, this is final, this is not over. We're saying this is not over. We are committed that every department, every division at the SLRD is your recovery support in operations and in acknowledgement and in finding solutions. The recovery email is still going to be monitored. We are still learning and transitioning and here to help and support. So today, Jaya is going to provide some recovery updates and share some reflections on what has been achieved to date, outline some of the community support from the SLRD departments, and of course, we're going to have an open Q&A at the end. But first, speaking of open Q&A, we know there's always going to be a hiccup, but I'm going to pass it over to Mark to try to prevent those hiccups. But of course, it's technology. You never know. Mark, the floor is yours.
Perfect. Thank you, Heather. And good afternoon, everyone. I am Mark Phillips, the Director of Protective Services. So just some quick housekeeping items. So just a reminder that this town hall is being recorded. So just ask that everyone keep their comments respectful and also consider your own privacy and the privacy of others when speaking. During the question and answer period, after Jaya and CAO Paul provide the updates, we will kind of enter into a question and answer period, and we'll ask that you use the raise hand function to join the queue during that Q&A, and our IT support will enable your microphone so that you can ask your questions. And if you do prefer to ask a question anonymously, please send them to recovery@slrd.bc.ca. So just a quick overview of using Teams. So if you're joining from the Teams app or web browser, you will see this banner at the top of the webinar screen. Yours may or may not have all the functions that are visible there. To raise your hand during the Q&A, press the raise the hand button. After you're done speaking, you can lower your hand by pressing the same button again. To turn on your camera and microphone on or off during the Q&A, use the camera and the mic buttons. And to access additional device settings such as audio controls or live captioning, you can press the More button. So just quickly to turn on live captions, if you click on that More button, then the language and speech option, then you can select Turn on live captions. So, all right. And also, if you are having any audio issues, you can check your audio settings. So again, click on the More button, then Settings, then Device Settings to adjust the volume and ensure the correct speaker is selected. If you are joining on a mobile Teams app, you can raise and lower your hand by pressing the hand button. To access more features, swipe up from the bottom of the webinar. From here, you can turn on and off your camera and microphone, turn on captions, change your audio settings, and more. And that's it for the little overview of using Teams. And I will now pass it on to Jaya Bremer, our recovery lead.
Thanks, Mark. So this presentation will cover, we'll go through a really similar layout to our last meeting, just so that we make sure that we can provide some updates on, some of the ongoing recovery issues and things we touched on at last meeting that have progressed a bit more, or we have clarity on where those sit now. So I'll give a bit of an update on the riparian area, and then water quality testing, shipping containers, debris management, land-based recovery, economic recovery, and then a bit on the Red Cross support, which was new, I think, since our last town hall, and then just a bit about continuity and the next steps beyond my role, which Heather did touch on a bit at the start of this meeting. So next slide, please. So riparian area, I think you're all familiar with the update that was released in March 2024, which was the supplemental guidance for riparian area cleanup activities. which allowed residents to not have to engage a qualified environmental professional to start your riparian cleanup, but at that point still required a development permit. And so through a lot of advocacy work from all of you and the SLRD, that did eventually lead to some announcements that Walrus provided in July, which we were all waiting for with bated breath. So the first one was around the reimbursement for the QEPs that had been hired for the riparian area assessments that people had already undertaken and hired before that initial announcement in March. And we've been told from the province that they have connected with everyone who had gone through that process of hiring a QEP, and that those reimbursements are now underway. So hopefully if you had gone through that route, hopefully you've now connected with the province. And if you haven't, then please get in touch with us and we can make sure that that connection happens. The second announcement from July was the big one, which was the wildfire rebuilding directive, which is really, I think, quite advanced for the province. And I'm so happy to see that this has landed, and hopefully it's really sets a precedence for how this work is navigated in the future. So really excited about this one, and Walrus will be working with homeowners that have homes within the riparian area to rebuild on those original footprints. So they have said that they are now starting to do all of those site visits with people and work with residents to understand where those original footprints are. We did receive, or I received an email a few weeks ago where someone had a really great question about worrying whether it was, whether it was advised or not to start their debris cleanup, because they were worried that the original footprint, if they removed it, wouldn't be honored. And I've reached out to Walrus and they've said, please do go ahead with your debris cleanup, but just document it well, take a lot of photos. They're going to use a variety of means for understanding where that footprint was through satellite, if there's drone footage, if there's any documentation within the SLRD. So just anything that can help them determine where that is. So photos will be enough, and just to carry on with your debris cleanup. One other point about this, someone also asked if they're selling their property, will these directives be honored for the next owners of that property? And they will, as long as that next owner signs up to be a part of this before the end of December. So whoever the owner is, whether it's you just have to sign up with Walrus, or if it's passing over to someone else, then they need to. So just a few points on that, but I think we can go to the next slide. So water quality testing. I'm sure, as you all know, there was the initial round of testing. I think that took place in March, and it did show some elevated levels of phosphorus, but no risk to human health. There has been ongoing sampling done at the center of the lake through the BC Lake Stewardship Monitoring Program, and we have a link on our website so that people can stay up to date and see those test results. But so far, nothing has been flagged for us. We had supported an application through the Ministry of Health for a health innovation program, Ministry of Environment for a health innovation program, which was looking into doing more shoreline water quality testing and burned soils analysis. And unfortunately, that was not successful. But the SLRD has provided additional funding to do more samples of the water quality along the shoreline to really be able to check back in on those previous identified phosphorus levels and make sure that that still isn't a risk to human health. So that the testing actually was done, I believe, last week, and so those results should be coming out in the next week or two. I think that is it on that one. So shipping containers, I know this was a really important topic that we talked a lot about at our last town hall. The current protocol was that shipping containers would only be permitted on properties when in support of construction and with a valid building permit. There has been a bylaw amendment that was brought to board and council to temporarily allow shipping containers on wildfire impacted properties from 2023. So that went before board and council in September, and that is now being referred to the appropriate First Nations and provincial agencies just as a final step before adoption can be considered. And I'm not sure if we have an update, Mark or Heather, on when, on how long that process usually takes, so whether people can kind of expect when there might be a yes or no on this.
Thanks, Jaya. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I think Kim Needham is here with the most fulsome experience of those varied timelines.
Amazing.
Hi there, Kim Needham, Director of Planning and Development Services. Yeah, so the bylaw has been referred out. We're hoping that we will be able to adopt it by November or December.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kim. Appreciate it. And let's go to the next slide. Debris management. I know this is an ongoing challenge, especially as for many properties, debris cleanup is really just getting going, or is just slotted to get going in the coming few months. So, you know, a few initiatives that we put in place over the past year and that are carrying on are the SLRD reimbursement program for hazardous materials survey. And that still has space. There's still room for people to apply for that if you haven't already. There are still no tipping fees or load limits for scrap metal at Goldbridge Transfer Station, and that's been extended until the end of this year. You know, we recognize the ongoing challenges related to concrete disposal, and we did look into that. We've also sought a variety of different possible avenues to support that, and that's really one of those challenging ones that we were not able to either find some funding support or ability to adapt and change. So Goldbridge Transfer Station is still unable to accept concrete, and the nearest disposal site is Lillooet. And we also recognize there's a lot of issues around ash, just because it does weigh so much that it's really hard for the transfer station to be able to handle it. So really it comes down to a capacity challenge of this transfer station, because all of that still has to be brought to Lillooet one way or another. So really what it comes down to is if you're able to lift the bag kind of as a one person, then the transfer station in general can accept that. If it requires a machine to move, then it really can't. And so, yeah, that's kind of where ash and concrete are for at this point. And the transfer station is also going back to winter hours, so just make note of those on the website. And we can go to the next slide. Land-based recovery. I think this has just been there's been so much great work that has been getting off the ground related to land-based recovery, and I'm really excited to see how this progresses in the next few years. So we've been working with Caribou Carbon Solutions, which is a nonprofit organization, and they've submitted an application to the federal government, as well as larger NGOs funding environmental restoration work for a fully funded 3-year project. Caribou Carbon Solutions has been doing site assessments for people that have signed up for to be a part of this program. They've been doing those over the last few weeks, and they'll do a few more site assessments in the coming 2 weeks. And so that planting will begin in 2025. So the trees are just being sowed and grown now, and then they'll start to be planted in 2025 and for the next few years after that. And really the door is still open for this program. If you still would like to sign up, you can actually do that over the next year or two. They'll keep that open. They do have enough trees to continue to take on some more people. And they're also going to be working with the Ministry of Forests on replanting on Crown land as well, so that that will go a bit beyond what the Ministry of Forests had planned for their own replanting initiatives. So it's great to see them work in tandem. Ministry of Forests is also going to be doing a 3-year planting program on Crown land above Gun Lake, and that will also begin in 2025. So those are going to be working together on the same timeline. We know that there's a lot of ongoing discussion and frustration and lack of clarity around the salvage logging and what blocks that are going to end up doing. I think they are also not sure what they'll be going ahead with logging. Just, I think the economy of trees has changed, whether it's worth it for them at this point or not. But we were committed to, continuing to advocate on behalf of residents for there to be proper oversight and community engagement around these proposed logging blocks. So we continue to work closely with Ministry of Forests as well to advocate for, changes in how these contracts are delivered and what that involves, and trying to push for really more thoughtful logging practices that can work better around environmental restoration. So that work continues for sure. There has been a great community-led initiative with securing some funding from a heritage fund that purchased grass seed that is available for residents to pick up. And Dave Williamson from the Gun Lake Ratepayers Association has been organizing that. And so just connect with him or the Gun Lake Ratepayers Association for to determine where you can pick that up from. And also there are tools that can be borrowed and used to help you with that grass reseeding. So that's been really great to see. And he also mentioned that now is the perfect time to reseed up until the first snow. So you have not missed the window on that yet, which is awesome. We can go to the next slide. Economic recovery, this from our perspective, is kind of wrapped up. I hosted a monthly economic recovery table really for the last year, which was attended by some business owners and community organizations and a few NGOs and Jobs and Economic Development and Innovation, JEDI, the provincial ministry. And so our last meeting took place in September. A big part of the work around economic recovery was putting in an application to NDIT for a marketing initiative to support tourism operators in the Bridge River Valley, which was successful. So that was a $20,000 funding stream, which then our partner organization who will be carrying out the work, their Caribou Chilcotin Coast Tourism Association, but much easier to say CCCTA. They have also given $10,000 towards that work. So quite a healthy marketing fund, which is underway now and hopefully really benefits the area to some thoughtful tourism and in support of those tourism operators. And CCCTA has offered to provide businesses in the Bridge River Valley a monthly update on how that marketing campaign is going. So if you are a business owner, you will probably hear from them. Go to the next slide. So Red Cross support, this came out in July. So I believe this came out just after our last town hall. And the Red Cross has announced that they would provide additional recovery support, which has included a variety of services, such as helping residents understand their insurance and available community resources, financial assistance to access mental health services, and providing referrals and information to help people make decisions and inform their next steps. I know that everyone is navigating so much paperwork, a lot of confusing guidance on all this. So they are offering kind of case management, just one-on-one support to provide people some additional capacity for just making sense of all of the different processes that you're all having to navigate. So I think it's a very welcome service, even though we were surprised that Red Cross came up with this, you know, a year out from the event, but certainly happy that they have. So hopefully people are reaching out to them and making some use of that case management support. They're also working with primary residents, homeowners who have been unable to return to their home, and they're providing some financial support for housing repair and reconstruction for those homeowners. So just note down below how you can reach out to the Red Cross if you are just even want to find out whether some of this would be a good fit for you, or how you might be able to make use of some of this. So we can go to the next slide. So next steps, as Heather mentioned, my contract does wrap up actually at the end of this week. So it will be a change just in who is, you know, a face at some of these meetings and also on the other end of answering your emails. But we just really want to make sure that people know that there is continuity of support here. And so Mark Phillips, who I believe that everyone on this call is knows by now, will be the main point person for all things recovery, and the email address that everyone's been using to date will remain active and will go to Mark. So those will still be answered. And, you know, for all your other recovery related issues, which we know you're very much still in the thick of, there are still the appropriate departments to match those issues to. So building and permitting and our environmental services are probably going to be the main departments for a lot of the ongoing recovery issues. Our SLRD recovery website was updated in July, and I think is a great improvement for just really being able to find things now more issue specific, and that will continue to be updated. And we're going to keep sending out any newsletters with when there's new things to report to this group. And from my side of things, I've been working on a recovery closeout report. The SLRD has never had a recovery event to this extent. So we recognize that there has been so much learning that has happened internally, and we're very conscious that we want to capture those lessons learned and incorporate it into how the SLRD approaches recoveries in the future. So that I will then be presenting this document to board and council in 2 weeks, I believe. So that will be, you know, open to the public. People are welcome to listen in on what some of those lessons learned have been and recommendations for the future. And also that recovery report will also be provided since it will be part of the open meeting. So you're welcome to take a look at that. And I think that's it. I think I just have been really amazed by a lot of the on the ground organizing and grassroots work that people have done in the area. And I know there have been a lot of issues that within the SLRD we haven't been able to find avenues forward with, but I just really think that the work that you all have been doing on the ground has been really amazing, and that you've been able to push forward on some of those issues that we weren't able to. So it's really just been recognized, and I've really appreciated getting to know a lot of you over the past year. So, you know, hopefully our paths cross again, maybe under better circumstances than this, but it's been a real pleasure working with you all. So really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jaya. And just really looking forward to that presentation at the board meeting in October. It'll be also recorded if anyone wants to watch Jaya and her final presentation, and we really have enjoyed working with you, so thank you. I just wanted, before we go to the question period, just give a bit of update at the UBCM meeting, because in witnessing some of the struggles, there was a great opportunity to meet with ministers and tell them, advocate for change in this moment for people suffering now, and if not possible, advocate for the lessons learned to be applied to future incidents. One of the meetings we had two meetings. I attended 2 meetings with Minister Bowen Ma, who is the Minister of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness. The first one was with 17 other regional districts who have faced similar wildfire and major structural loss, and it was about funding and support for emergency response, planning, and mitigation. So it really is that planning for emergency response, mitigating issues, and preventing those issues, and then how do we, in the moment, support staff and community when in emergency response. And it's about asking the province for more services and more support. The other one was attended just as an SLRD meeting with the minister, and Director Demare also was in attendance. One of the topics was about recovery and funding, and really sharing with them that with the lack of recovery funding that the province was providing and the barriers that the province was providing, because they also were learning as we were learning, a lot of the funding was coming from select funds and other funds that are at times meant for other community supports, and we're now we're going into recovery. And our ask was that the province take on that responsibility, because those select funds and those other funding models are really there for infrastructure, community advocacy, community events, improving general quality of life and infrastructure of the community. So our ask was to really look at the cost of recovery and to plan for it. And specifically, one of them was about what they consider private cleanup. You're on private property, asbestos and ash and concrete there, recognizing that if a private owner chooses not to do anything about it, there's an environmental and a community impact when runoff happens on those private properties. And so our argument is that this is more of an environmental and community impact, not a private property decision, and that more funding and supports need to go towards the removal of ash, asbestos, concrete, etc. And just, again, advocating and trying to get the ministers and staff to really understand that and know that this is a barrier we face, and we'd like to support the group moving forward. The other meeting was just a little bit on the topic of the fire, because it was with Minister George Chow from Citizen Services, and it was about Minto Internet Services and talking about recovery for nonprofit internet services who suffer major loss like this and what options there are. And there's been traction on both those subjects, so I really want to recognize ministry and staff, and considering that not a lot of the elected officials are actively working at anything right now, the staff still are responding and connecting with us, so really appreciate that. That's it for our update. We are going to go to the question and answer period. I'm going to talk less and listen more. So if anyone has questions, I'm sure there's a few. Raise your hand, as Mark said. We'll do it in order. Teams is great. Tells us what order everyone raised their hands in. Your microphone will be enabled. I'm just reading off this screenshot you can see in front of you, so you can ask your questions. And of course, you can always email recovery@slrd.bc.ca. Jaya is monitoring that right now if you want it to be anonymous, your question. Does anyone have any questions or comments? I don't see any raised hands now, but it could be a technical issue.
I did receive a question from the email, and it is, can we use our existing driveways to access our land in the riparian zone?
That's a great question. I think I'll defer to Director Needham for that answer. And again, if staff don't have an answer right now, we will always go back and get the answer and then communicate it out to the group.
Thank you. Yeah, I think each individual case is going to be a little bit different. Typically, a driveway would not be located within a SPIA, the riparian setback area. So, not sure what this person's individual case is like. Maybe there had been a variance granted originally that allowed for that driveway to be in the SPIA based on a trade-off of planting, etc. So I can't really say definitively. It would really be based on the development permit that was originally issued for the property.
Would it help, Kim, if they email planning@slrd.bc.ca directly with that question and their property?
Yes, that would be very helpful. Thanks.
Okay.
Or I guess just from how I read it, I'm wondering, to me, it seems like, can they use that driveway currently to access, you know, to act, I don't believe that they're speaking to whether there's still a house that is being lived in, but just even the land, can they use that driveway if it goes through the riparian area?
Yes, I think that the answer would be the same. Typically, we wouldn't have driveways in a riparian zone, but I'll allow somebody from the province to weigh in since it is their regulation. Thanks.
That's great. And one thing I forgot to mention is the province is not in attendance today. They do send their regrets, but we can take that away. And Jaya, you have the email, so we can respond to that. Thank you. Jessica has her hand up. We'll get you unmuted.
Hello.
And the floor is yours. Hi.
Hi. So regarding the, rebuilding in original footprints in the riparian zone, of course, we're very pleased to have that. I think our question again is property specific. We had 3 cabins on our land, all 3 destroyed in the fire. So our question is, can we, in theory, rebuild all on their footprint?
Thank you, Jessica. I suspect this is one of those questions that would go to the province because of it's their regulation that they've put in. Jaya, can we, or Mark, can we record that and get the contact for the province about those new riparian footprint allowances that they're making?
Yeah,
it's a really
100%.
good question.
Yeah, great question. And we will, in the follow-up to this meeting, we'll be sure to share that contact information so you can ask that question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions that we have? Comments? Good recipes you want to share for Thanksgiving? Well, I mean, we did schedule until 5 o'clock. If there's Michelle, are there any? I'm just going to go to my technical advisor here. Are there any hands up that I'm not seeing?
I don't see any more hands up, so I don't think we have any more. Oh, here's one now.
We'll unmute. I don't know who it is, but it's Vicky Marlett. Vicky, if you will unmute you, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, Vicky just needs to unmute herself on her end.
And if you, Vicky, if you are trying to unmute yourself and it's not working, we have seen this a lot of times when you start up Teams. Initially, your system wants to not allow your microphone to be in use for it. So we've seen it'll work if you log out of this meeting, come back. Oh, I see your face though. Come back in. Are you able to unmute? We can see you. No, it's not working, it looks like. Yeah. We can't hear you. Mark, do you want to give just a technical? Oh, she looks like she's logged out. Hopefully when she logs back in, she will be able to see the option to enable the speaker. It's one of those things. the high privacy, the high price of good privacy. Director Demare, your hand's up, and then Dustin Thomas will be next.
Just a comment on Triple C CEA. Caribou Gold Rush Trail is also with them also, and they've done Facebook posts. The Caribou Gold Rush Trail actually had it at the Gun Lake Trail in South Stoughton Park was open, and a whole bunch of other disinformation on their Facebook posts. And I replied to them and told them what some of the issues were. Eventually, it took a while, but they finally put that down. On the Triple CPA Facebook post, I think it was last week, it came up. They had, again, wrong images of the lakes that they were mentioning. They had Marshall Lake, Scott Lake, and Gun Lake, and all those images were of Department of Reservoir. So somehow, with that funding stream that is there, there's got to be some vetting taking place with somebody in the valley, because they just don't know the valley.
Yeah, they have shared all of their mock-up ads that they were going to be running with the businesses. So that's unfortunate to hear that. But yeah, they did share their package of marketing materials out for feedback. But if you wanted to take some screenshots of what you've seen and correctly identify it, then we can send that to our contacts at Triple CTA to correct them.
Okay. I guess the key is how engaged are the businesses in that vetting. A lot of people picked it up pretty quick. What was going on there? So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Are we able to unmute Dustin?
Yeah, he's unmuted.
Okay.
Or he's enabled.
You're okay.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Oh, hi there. I was just wondering what, other than just I see people sort of talking online about things like pre-approved structures, like CSA approved portable structures. I'm just wondering about things like, for instance, shipping container homes that have structural engineering and everything done to them, if those plans are accepted by the SLRD.
I believe that Director Needham can answer that with our zoning bylaws.
Yeah, sorry. Currently, the shipping container bylaw is meant to provide shipping containers for storage only. We don't allow dwellings within shipping containers. That would be something you'd have to take up with the building official.
Okay, yeah, because I noticed that in like many other municipalities, that if they're submitted with a building plan from an engineer and structural engineering and architecture, that it's usually no problem. I was just wondering what the SLRD stance was on that.
Yeah, it is possible, but yeah, you have to go through some hoops because it's not typical construction as per the BC Building Code.
Oh, that wasn't my understanding of the BC Building Code, but I guess cross that bridge when I get there. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dustin. And I don't know if Vicky is returned. Has anyone? Do we have a return? If anyone, I'm just looking. Oh, I see you. Oh, are we able to enable Vicky's mic? Michelle, I see she has entered the meeting. Her camera's on.
Vicky's mic is enabled. Vicky, at the top of your window there, you can see a little mic. If you can click on that. Oh, there you go.
I think I'm here, right?
You
Yeah, we
are.
can hear you.
Yay. Okay. So I'm sorry I missed the first part of the meeting. Is it now that we can that somebody can build on their footprints?
I'm gonna
They
let
can
Jaya answer that one because it's a really good, it's a great question.
yeah.
Yeah, so Walrus, the Provincial Ministry of Waterlands and Resource Stewardship did provide an update or a change to how rebuilding is done within riparian areas. And so they are honoring the original footprints of people's homes and cabins within the riparian area. And they'll be working directly with residents to understand what those original footprints were by using, satellite images and photographs, any drone footage that people may have had to honor those. So,
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Good news.
affect us, but it
Okay.
affects our neighbors. Also, what's happening with outhouses? Are they still not allowed?
Kim?
Yeah, we don't allow outhouses anywhere in the Squamish-Lillooet Regional District, and it's not allowed by Vancouver and what's the one? Northern Coastal Health. Yeah, Interior
Okay.
Coastal Health. Yeah.
And so the people that have outhouses on the lake, they're still grandfathered in.
They're actually not allowed. It is a source of drinking water, the lake. And so it's just not considered safe to have outhouses as they can leach into the water supply.
Ours was 100 feet back, and there's no way it can get into the lake. It's up high. Like there's no way it's got lava ash. Yeah, so I'm just wondering if there's somebody could check that out, because ours was 100 feet back, had it there for 50 years, and there's no way that will ever leach into the lake. It was up really high.
This is definitely, oh, go ahead, Kim, sorry.
I was just going to say that's something we can look into, but I do know that they are prohibited.
It's one of those. Okay. It's one of those ones where Interior Health, Vancouver Coastal Health have made the regulations. So a lot of the times, the SLRD is working amongst regulations that are different levels of province are making the regulations, and we are meant to enforce it when building applications and other things are happening. So it's really when something new is being requested, other things are looked at on the property, and those regulations are by the province. However, it's good to always keep on having making those questions, and we question the province or individuals go to Interior Health and make those questions, because it's that kind of advocacy that can be heard and possibly advocate change. I would say with this one, when conversations were had, it was very strong. There was very strong conversation about the scientific evidence of any of the ground, and even in distances of water, the scientific evidence of impacts on water sources because of runoff. However, again, it's one of those good questions and keep asking them, but for sure.
Okay, yeah. Because there's no way we can do anything else but an outhouse, because yeah, we don't have we just can't do anything. So I don't know where to put our poop, right? Like that's the problem. Anyways, I'll finish with just saying that, yeah, that's our situation right now. Okay.
My suggestion, Vicki, would be that you take up this concern with the building officials, and they may have some ideas for options for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
And I just want to mention, Jaya, there was a deadline to apply for that footprint consideration. So Vicki, if you could let your neighbors know. It's really important by the end of December. So if they want that honored, definitely, if they can apply by the end of December, it would be really important to.
And that
Walrus.
information is on the recovery website. We have a whole riparian area icon, and it's titled there, so you can find the information of the email address to contact so that your name is in their system.
Thank you. Okay, this meeting's meant to go to 5. We have 3 hands up. Jaya, was your hand meant to be up for a question?
Yeah, I received a follow-up just from that previous recovery question that I shared. Just their mic isn't working, so I just wanted to share the follow-up regarding the driveways in the riparian zone. So this says there are many driveways in the riparian zone, which I think is the area 30 meters from the lake. Yes, our driveway was placed there prior to permit requirements. Can we still use it? So not sure if that changes your answer, Kim, but it does maybe provide a bit more context to their question.
Yeah, I think that we would have to look at each one of these sort of separately because they all the properties have different riparian setbacks, different SPIAs, different development permits. And so that's something I don't think I can answer just globally. I think we'd have to look at this more specifically. Thanks.
Perfect. I'm going to forward that email to you, Kim, and then you'll be able to connect directly with them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica, you're the next hand up, and then it's Norris.
Hello, just adding on to Vicky's point about outhouses. You know, it's really cost prohibitive for people to be bringing in porta potties from the closest area, which is Lillooet. They're charging $600 a trip to bring it, to pump it, and that's really cost prohibitive for people that weren't expecting to have total devastation on their land, and they don't have any money to begin with. And it's unrealistic to have a tent and a bucket for people that are working on your land. So I think, you know, it's not just, I mean, I think it's important that the SLRD have an understanding that many, many, many families are in this boat. And I'm sorry, but a lot of us disagree with the concept of leaching. Our outhouses have been there probably 80 years, and every one of those 80 years, we've had pristine water quality testing on Gun Lake. So that argument, I don't think flies for the people that have been there for a very, very long time. All of our outhouses were 100 feet from the water, and it's just not logical what's happening here. And it may be that the SLRD has banned them, but other jurisdictions have not. And this is a special circumstance. Maybe we should be looking into, or the powers that be looking into special, you know, approval for families devastated by fire. And, you know, that's what I kind of would say about that. So thank you, Vicky, for bringing that up.
Thanks, Jessica. And we know it's an ongoing issue, and it has been addressed at the board level and considered at the board level, and continuing to talk about it can advocate change. We can bring those concerns to the board. I can talk to Director DeMeyer offline about that. We are definitely aligned with interior health at the moment. However, as you can see, when we thought a wall was in front of us of impossibility, we have seen change. Not saying that this will, but there's a lot of possibility and open-mindedness happening.
For sure, and I think it's just
great.
I think we see you know, at the campground at Gun Lake, there's an outhouse. You know, at the fire hall, there's an outhouse. So the idea that they're okay some places and not okay other places is also problematic.
Yeah. Okay. And we are 5 minutes left, so I'm going to ask that Norris activated?
Yes, I've been activated, and I was just going to bring up the point
Thank
that the campground has an outhouse, the fire hall has, so, and there are other government or quasi-government outhouses around the area. So you got a double standard. You got to either make it one way or the other. You can't go both ways.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. And we are having those discussions and noting those differences and asking ourselves and the authorities, what is the difference? Because there's some realistic challenges being faced. Yeah, duly noted. I think that's a big barrier happening right now. So again, I think one of the things to remember right now, this isn't over. All departments are impacted and here to support recovery. And these ongoing conversations hopefully will affect us, accept, manage change. My job is to not make promises that I can't deliver. But what I can promise is that we are hearing it and we are talking about it. And hopefully we're doing as good a job as possible to communicate that. Really encourage everyone to watch or follow up on Jaya's presentation to the board meeting that's taking place in 2 weeks from now. With no other questions and it being 4:40. Oh,
sorry, the presentation will be on the morning of Thursday, October 24th.
Thank you. Yeah. Thursday, October 24th. It'll also be recorded, so you don't have to, you can pop some popcorn and watch it at night if you'd prefer. And the report will be attached to the agenda, which will be likely released the Thursday or Friday prior. So to wrap it up with everyone, I do once again want to thank Jaya for her efforts and everyone that's been involved in the recovery support work, including all the staff that are here today, some who have spoken and some who haven't, all of you who have been outspoken in the community, Director Demer, and I want to thank you so much. And also recognize once again, just to reflect that this is the largest recovery operations in SLRD history, and there are lessons learned and challenges and successes, and we really have pressed. One of the reasons we pressed the province to extend Jaya's time was so that that report can be created, so that lessons learned moving forward, where are the efficiencies that we can address and be better, and do it faster next time, with the hyper focus on prevention and mitigation so that there isn't a next time. And right now we don't have another town hall planned. We do continue to share new relevant information by email. Really encourage everyone to visit the website for your resources and contact information. Sign up for the newsletter if you're not in the newsletter. And these are your contact people here. You can also find that on the website. And it is pretty tricky that sometimes the building questions are hard to answer in a general sense and more in a specific sense. I've learned that sometimes the answer is how long is a piece of string. It depends on every individual property and the different applications to those properties. So your greatest resources are the emails that you see on that screen. And I am also here. So hpaul@slrd.bc.ca. If I can't answer it, I'll be pulling in the people that are on the screen there, or and we can also talk to different levels of government. So never hesitate. I don't want to say goodbye. I just want to say I hope to continue to see and hear from you all over the coming months. I wish you all a very healthy, safe winter, and always in contact with Director Demer. And if there is a need to activate this once again, we can continue that conversation. Any of the conversations or questions that were outstanding today, we'll follow up and we'll get them email out to the group email so that you all have the answer that was shared if there's anything outstanding. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. That is all. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. and hope to see you again soon. And thank you again to Jaya and the whole team.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
In the Lillooet language, Kukstum Kalp. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great day, evening.